Alrighty, here we go. And I'm going to start recording now and start recording. Let's minimize this. Okay, so now we're going to talk about waveform versus multitrack. Waveform versus multitrack is going to be everything that you're going to deal with in your editing layout, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File, New, and I'm going to create a new multitrack session. We're going to call this Example Session. Example Session for class. You can name it whatever you want. When you do that, this is where you name your project. This is where you save your project. Don't touch any of the other stuff. Just leave it as is. Look at your settings. They should be 48:32 stereo. If it's not, let's get them over to 48:32 in stereo and just leave it like that forever, period. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to click OK. And what happens when I click OK is we are presented with multiple tracks in a row. So this is the multi-track section of Adobe Audition. So basically, let me give you an example of what this is supposed to do. So here you have multiple tracks to which you can put audio in. And on each one of these tracks, you can put multiple clips. Let me give you an example. I am just going to twirl that up, and we'll get into where all this is at in a few minutes, but I'm just going to throw some SFX on there. Okay, so we've got bubbly liquid, right? You hear it playing because I've got... That starts playing because I have that selected, and you're hearing it through my speaker and through the recording. And then let's put an energy beam high emission, right? And I've got it set to play. So, and then let's put let's put a fire crackle in there. Okay. So I was selecting them over here. Those will play. We will go into this section more in depth shortly. Do you see how we have 1, 2, 3 tracks or 3 clips in the same track? You can also do it like this, and you can grab them and you can move them to different tracks. This will come in handy if you're editing with sound and sound effects and music. But anyway, so yeah, you've got the option to do multiple tracks, and you can move the clips around however you want, or you can put them all on one track. So just a word to the wise, when we get to effects and presets, it's all going to kind of be about where you place your effects on what thing. So this is the multi-track session. In the multi-track session, each track has its own unique properties. So we can click on the track right here and we can rename it. So we'll call this sample 1, right? And we can rename this one. We can do things like change the colors by mousing over this and right-clicking. So we can change the color to whatever we want. I like it green on the top. That's just the way that I am. Here, you have your track volume. So right now, it's at 0, right? That's neutral. That's just the neutral sound, but we can turn that way the F down, right? So if we turn it way the F down, hear how it's a lot quieter. Okay, so let's put that back at 0. Boom. Okay, this is the pan. So this will pan your track left or right. Remember, this is a universal pan for this entire track. It doesn't change the clip, it just pans what's on that track. So if I've got it panned hard to the right and I remove that clip from that track, it will not be panned anymore. Okay, so let's put that back to 0. Above that, you have an M, S, and an R. This is mute, so this will mute the track. This is solo, so that will solo the track. And this is record, and that means you are arming this track for recording, which means if I arm it for record and then I come down here and click record, it's going to record through whatever device I've got plugged in. Generally, that's your microphone. So let me unarm that. Up here, you have some basic appearances, right? So you can see the effects on the track, and if I mouse right there, I can draw that out. So this will show you what effects are on the track. This will lay it out, help you deal with like infinity and sound and et cetera, et cetera. You shouldn't really bother with that. This is your levels for that track, but we'll get into all of those when it comes to the mixer. So all those are just mixer kind of things. You don't really need them. Let's just put it back to that and let's scroll it up. All right. These things right here, These are the pain in the butt. This is where you set up how you record. Now, I'm actually recording on a different computer using Adobe Audition. I have 2 computers set up, but we'll go into that. I'll illustrate how this works in a different video. But this is just the interface tour. I'm not really showing you how to do everything. Okay, so once again, multiple tracks, boom, 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 boom. It will play everything that's on every track unless you have it muted or solo. But let's talk about what the waveform is. So do you see this pattern right here? This pattern is called a waveform. You'll notice there's one on top and there's one on bottom. And what that is that's the left and the right channel. All right, left channel, right channel. I think it's left channel, right channel. This individual clip has its own unique waveform. So does this clip, and so does this clip. If I click on this clip and hit waveform, it will take me inside of that clip. So let me play that for you, right? It's kind of a gross sound, but it's pretty awesome when you use it the right way. So inside of the waveform, you may or may not see this. You can draw this all the way down, or you can pull it up and make it all the way up. Okay, or you can do it halfway, you can resize it however you want. This is your waveform section. This is where you will directly edit a specific sound. So when you are recording and you've already recorded everything and you're trying to get rid of the breaths or the room noise or whatever it is that you're trying to clear out of the file, this is where you're going to do it, okay? So the waveform is pretty simple. You've got your nav guide right there, right? You can drag through. This little cursor right here will drag it through. It's called scrubbing, is what they call it. You still have your controls down here. You've got a little time indicator down here. Your levels are still in the same place. Here is your left track. Here's your right track. And yeah, this guy up here, in case you're wondering, this guy is like a... it's like a picture of where you're at. I guess that's the best way to describe it. So if I drag here, it will zoom me in, right? And we can drag it from the other direction and we can zoom it down. And if we need to quickly get to the other side, see how we have a hand here? We can mouse over it like that, all right? Another really cool thing you can do to get around is you can use this hand right here. Now let me zoom in. So I will grab this and I will zoom in. And then if I put this hand right there, right over those numbers, it will allow me to drag myself around and scrub through the clip as well. So you can do it here, or you can do it here, okay? Quick little trick. This is the hand on the numbers is once you get grooving and rocking and rolling, this is the way to go. Sweet. Okay, so let's talk about zooming in and zooming out and how you can do it. So if we use this guy, we can drag it over to here and we can try to line it up with that. And then we can drag it over here and we can try to line it up with that. But that really is a huge pain in the backside. So if you're running a mouse and you have a mouse wheel, if you roll it forward, it zooms you in. If you roll it back, it zooms you out. I think the Magic Mouse does the same thing, just you're not using the wheel, you're just pushing your finger forwards and backwards. But I'm not for sure. I know some of you guys have a Magic Mouse. Now, if you're on a laptop and all you've got is that stupid little trackpad, get a mouse. It's going to save you a ton of time. Yeah. So what this is down here, all this yellow and orange and purple and some black. You see some black right there. This is like a heat map almost of what's going on. The more sound there is, the brighter the color. The less sound there is, the darker the color, and silence is represented by black. So you have the waveform, which is the actual physical ups and downs. And if we scroll in here, you can see it's the waveform, right? It looks like a giant wave. But this is basically like a heat map. Essentially, that's the short and simple explanation. The hotter the color, the louder the sound. Think of it like that. The lower the color, the darker the color, like as far as the dark purples going into the blacks, that is sound that you almost can't hear, or that is like a white noise in the room. It just depends on what you got going on. So let's just kind of watch this playhead right here. Let's watch it scrub through as we play this clip. So you'll notice that as it scrolls across these sounds that are loud, there's a bright yellow color underneath it, all right? And as it goes through the sounds that are not so loud, as represented by the small waves, there's not so much bright color. All right, loud, not loud. Okay, now for the trick. The changes you make in here, in the waveform, will affect what happens in the multitrack. But the changes you make in the multitrack will not affect the waveform. Okay, so if you're going to edit a raw file, you will edit it in the waveform. If you are simply going to apply an effect, you will apply it in the multitrack. There are exceptions to this rule. I will show you those as we go, but let's just recap. Multitrack, waveform. Multitrack has multiple tracks. It's where you put multiple clips. The waveform operates on a single clip and allows you to directly edit that clip, as in add things, remove things, add time, take away time. So that was all fun. I hope you understand. You can always go back and rewatch this video if I missed something. And if there's also something that I don't cover by the end of the lesson, you can feel free to shoot me an email and I'll go over it again. But next, we're going to talk about the effects panel. All right? See you over there.